All right, guys, so last time we chatted with Ari about how the competition worked on sort of the back end. This time we're going to go and chat to Hendo, find out about how the judging sort of works and what happens with your beer when it gets to the judges' side. Beer. All right, well, welcome guys. We're here chatting with Hendo. He was, he is very instrumental in the Queensland Beer Awards. What's your role? I know you're on the advisory committee, but also, right.
Yes, so
on the day you weren't doing that as well. You were doing a lot of things.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the job title that they gave me was the chairman of judges for the Royal Queensland Beer Awards. So,
which was ironic because you didn't really sit down.
No.
You did a lot of walking.
No, I was walking around all the time. And that was actually the first time that I've been in the role of sort of like a head judge role. And so it was really new to me and I learned a lot. It was like, because over the years I've gone through that progression. I started as a steward at the Australian International Beer Awards in, I think it was 2012. Then became an associate judge, then became a full judge, then became, an international judge, and then a table captain at the Royal Queensland Beer Awards. I've been on the advisory committee for the Royal Queensland Beer Awards since it restarted in, I think, 2019, I think it was. This year, I've been a table captain, all that time, but this year was the first year that I'd become one of the chairman of judges, with Chris Sheehan being the other chief judge, and that was a lot of fun. It was new challenge. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, new learnings and a lot of it's some people stuff, and there's also advice giving and stuff like that, because I know I waved you down a couple of times
absolutely.
as well.
So my role in the judging process was to make sure there was good coordination between the judges and the stewards, first off, because a lot of the stewards had never stewarded before.
What's a steward?
Oh, have we not gone through the basics?
No.
Okay. Should we go through the basics? How the competition works?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you have a beer competition, it's really important that there's a high level of integrity in the competition. So all the beers in a beer competition are judged blind. Okay. So every judge doesn't know the brand and the name of the beer that they're judging.
Yeah, we get 4 or 5, 6 beers in a glass.
That's right, yeah. So
with a
basically
number on
how it works is from a judge's perspective, sitting in the judge seat, you get a glass of beer, your small little glass of beer, maybe 50 odd mils of beer.
Yep.
You
have a tasting paddle glass.
That's right, yes. They have a name, but I don't know what they're called.
I can't remember.
And then you have the style guidelines. So there's 140 different styles of beer, according to the Brewers Association Beer Style Guidelines. So the judge's job is basically to look at the liquid and work out how well it matches the style guidelines. So the style guidelines sets out what the beer is supposed to look like, what the beer is supposed to smell like, what the beer is supposed to taste like, what the beer is supposed to feel like, and then any specific things around that style that are unique in terms of giving it character. A judge's job is basically, there's a liquid, there's some words, how well does that liquid match the words, and are there any characteristics that would be considered to be off flavours? Now, it's really important to note that it's not the judge's job to solely pick out faults in the beer, but rather to match characteristics with the style, and then subsequently investigate as to whether there's any characteristics that would be considered to be off flavours or off aromas and that sort of thing.
There's 2 big things for me of judging that I've learned is the first one, the flight. You don't compare beers to each other in the flight. That's got nothing to do with it, because one beer next to each other might taste so different.
Yes.
But in the style guidelines, they fit. That
Correct.
example fits and matches, and every beer on its own merit has to go to those guidelines.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's really, really important. Okay, so from a judge's perspective, let's say this is a beer that I'm judging now. In fact, we can do a little exercise here. Let's assume that we're judging 2 beers out of the same style.
Nice.
And if we were to say be judging something like a Munich Helles, which in the style guidelines says that it's supposed to be not hazy, supposed to be nice and bright, have good foam and that sort of thing. And if something like that, rocked up, that is not a Munich Helles in reality. But if that was presented to me as a judge, as a Munich Helles, it would not score very well. Even though that beer is a really well-made beer, the fact that which beer is that one, by the way?
This is Horizon.
That's
so
Horizon,
this is the
hazy pale ale. Okay?
hazy pale. So it has less head than yours because that's to the style. That's what happens.
Exactly.
There's a lot more hops than the oils.
Correct. If we were judging a Munich Helles, right, that beer doesn't look like a Munich Helles.
Yes.
And it's certainly because of the hops that are in that hazy pale, it doesn't smell like a Munich Helles, and it doesn't taste and have the mouthfeel of a Munich Helles. But vice versa, if I was to put that beer into hazy pale ale, it would also score poorly.
Yeah.
Even though both of these beers are very well made, it's really important that the brewers enter their beer into the right style class. And it's actually a really common mistake that a lot of novice professional brewers make when they enter competitions for the first time, is they don't read the style guidelines. And if you don't read the style guidelines,
in their mind, they've brewed a lager.
Exactly. They might have printed on their label, a pale ale, but there's 6 or 7 different pale ale style classes, and you've got to pick the right one. You can't just blindly go, "Oh, I brewed this to be an American style pale ale," but then is it?
Because some are clear, some are hazy.
Correct.
Some are New World, which is like the new tropical sort of.
There's just a multitude of different characteristics. So, from a judge's perspective, a judge is sitting there. They don't know the brand or the name of the beer. They just know that this beer has been entered into this style class. There is a wall, and then on the other side is what they call the back of house area where the stewards are. And so the stewards are the people who tap the kegs or open the cans or bottles and that sort of thing. So they know all the beers, brands of the beers and all that sort of stuff. And they pour them into the glass. They put a judging order little label on the glass, and they bring them out from behind the wall and present them to the judges, right? Judges are not allowed, even in my role as chairman of judges, I was not allowed in the back of house area. In fact, there was like a recycle bin that I wanted to put a bottle in, and I had to tap a steward on the side. Can you please put that in the bin?
Josh saw you.
Josh would come down on me like a ton of bricks. And so,
love you though, Josh.
In a typical day of judging, you can judge anywhere from sort of 30 to 70 beers a day.
Yep.
That's a lot. I've had some days where I've done around 70 beers. A lot of people think that
they think it's amazing, right?
They think it's amazing. They think you get drunk, that sort of thing. You don't, because when I judge a beer, I'll maybe consume a tiny mouthful, because most of what I can determine from a beer comes from the appearance, the aroma, and a little bit of the flavour and body and mouthfeel.
You tend to see if someone really enjoys that beer as a gold medal because that beer is gone.
Yeah, exactly. I send most of my beer back.
100%, me too.
And if you go to, when I judge when I stewarded at the Australian International Beer Awards, 10 years ago, they were doing at the time around 2,000 beers, and they filled up just with waste beer about 7 1,000 litre IBCs.
Oh wow! Yeah,
of just waste beer. It was just a phenomenal amount of beer.
But you physically can't, because your palate gets fatigued.
Yes.
There's all of those physical things that you have to take on as a judge. You're trying to drink water to, keep yourself hydrated, because you are drinking and you're sitting down, going through a lot. Like it's a very mental. Yeah. Got these sheets.
And unlike wine judges, we have to swallow.
You got to swallow it.
I've heard that it's a myth that the bitterness perception is past the point of no return, but I just find it. I've never attempted to spit a beer out. I feel like it's not doing the brewer any justice, that sort of thing. So I drink a very, very small amount.
It's a little less decorum, I think, than wine, because it'd be all foamy and everything.
Well,
You'd be
it's not as it just sounds gross to me. When we judge the beers in this particular competition, like most of the beer competitions in Australia, there's medals available. So there's gold medal, silver medal, bronze medal. Now you would think that would mean first, second, third, but that's actually not what it means. So these competitions are run very much like wine competitions. So every beer is given a score out of 20. So basically, from 14 points up to 15 and a half is a bronze medal. 15.5 to 17 is a silver medal, and 17 points and above is a gold medal. So what that actually means is that you can have more than one gold medal or none.
Yep.
More than one silver medal or none. More than one bronze medal or none. And so it doesn't. So there's not. It's not. It's definitely not a first, second, third thing. But if a beer is awarded 17 points and above, and it earns a gold medal, then that beer is brought out against all the other gold medal beers in that style, what we call a style category. So we have the best pale ale category, which has American style pale ale, hazy pale ale, international style. All the pale ale categories get grouped together. All the gold medals get reassessed. They're not rejudged because they've already got a gold medal. And the job of the judges in the trophy rounds is to rank them. And then there's a points, it's like a preferential voting system. At least 5, but at least 5 judges will judge a trophy round, and the beer with the highest score wins that champion category, champion pale ale or champion stout or something like that. So
which then lead on to like these awards and the awards that the froth rookies got.
These ones here are for the brewery, so best new brewery and champion brew pub. Yeah,
based on their points accumulation.
That's right. Yeah. So the medals that they won and that sort of thing.
Because these guys,
they put 17
beers in.
Not that actually
got a medal for each.
It doesn't matter. It's only your top 4 beers in that. For these trophies that sort of get you that trophy. But then we have champion trophies for, best pale ale, best amber dark beer, best lager, best India pale ale, all that sort of stuff. And so the beers that win those style classes are truly the best of the best because they've been ranked amongst all of the gold medal winning beers, and they were determined by the judges to be the best of the best.
Yeah. So we talked before about like the judging, like how is it broken up? I know, obviously, but like the scores, they're out of 20.
Yes, that's right.
And we don't give points to the beer.
No, that's right. Yes. So when you give a score to a beer, it's really important that when a beer is presented to a judge, that the judge assumes that beer is perfect. It starts at a 20 out of 20. Okay. A beer should never earn its medal. Rather, it starts perfect and then points get deducted off until it lands at a particular level. And so the way that it works is that you'll have 5 judges on a panel. They will individually judge the beer and score the beer. They will write their own individual notes and they won't talk to each other. And then you have one person on the judging panel called the table captain. And the table captain's job is to coordinate all of the results, get all of the scores, get all of the feedback, and then massage that into feedback that's going to go back to the brewer and to come up with what's called a panel score. Yep. So that's where the judging panel has to reach a consensus as to what the actual score of this beer is going to be. And it often happens that one judge will think very highly of a beer, and another judge on the same panel, having drunk the same beer out of the same keg, for instance, thinks that the beer is not that great at all. And
some people will pick up compounds like sulfur or oxidation, and others will be going DMS or
correct. Your palate is as unique as your fingerprint. Okay. And so sometimes there's some real robust conversations. I don't know if you were privy to any real robust conversations.
Oh yeah, we definitely had a few. Yeah.
Where one judge was arguing and another one just going, no.
Some judges are up on a gold and you're on a dirty bronze, and you're like, did we have the same beer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this also happens as well, is sometimes genuinely there is what's called a split panel. And so the table captain's job, for example, I've judged beers before on a panel where 3 of the beers were okay and 3 of the beers were hazy, and they've come out of a separate can or bottle, for instance. And so in that case, that's kind of like a stewarding error. And then we go to the stewards and we go, we think we have the same beer, but they're not looking the same. Please re-pour it. Because we have to make sure that the beer gets judged fairly.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? The brewers paid good money to make sure that their beer gets a fair assessment, and that it's objective. And if you have, the same beer that looks different across the table, it's not possible to give the same score. The same goes for the organoleptic characteristics as well. If there's a judge that picks up a major fault, another judge goes, no, this is a gold medal winning beer, chances are it could have come from a can, because with the stewarding, usually it's 2 cans per panel, per judging table. So sometimes it happens, you might have that sketchy beer that didn't get sketchy can of beer that didn't get purged properly, and it's 2 different standards of beer.
Managed to make it to a judge's table.
Exactly, and you've got to. It's basically a good table captain has to remedy that situation to make sure that the beer on the table is consistent. So,
yep. You ever scored a 20 out of 20?
Twice.
Right.
Twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the sort of 9-10 years I've been judging now, I have given a 20 out of 20 twice. The most recent would have been the ballistic coup de grace. I think it was the 2020.
Yeah, okay.
Made by the very, very talented Jake Harrison, who he doesn't know I fanboy over him, but I do. And he has a very unique talent. He's a very softly spoken brewer, and I really admire and respect what he does. So he's not loud. He's not like you and I. Talk shit and that sort of thing. He just gets in there, gets the job done, makes really good beer. He's particularly good with his strong beers and his barrel-aged beers.
Yep.
And, that 200-day Pilsner that
Helios
did.
That was great,
what was it called? The Borealis.
Yep.
My God, that was my beer of the year last year.
It was a cracker.
And so there's certain things that brewers can be good at. He knows what he's good at. Even when he went and made Dionysus, the hazy, or the oat cream IPA, the hazy IPA, and that sort of thing, that's not normally his jam.
No, he went back and
but
learned
he did that
how
so
to
well,
do it. And,
So and he was table captain as well at the Royal Queensland Beer Awards, and that was his first time being a table captain. And there's a lot of responsibility when you become table captain, because you have to coordinate the service of the samples. With the stewards, you have to be guiding and leading a conversation. You have to be working out what the panel score and what the medals are going to be, and you have to work out what the feedback that's going to go back to the brewer is going to be.
And you can't be selfish and think that what you've scored
is the score. No.
You've got to be able to.
You have to be able to
interpret it all.
Read your judges and to work out if what they're saying is valid. If more than one, if there's multiple people that are getting a characteristic that you're not, you step back. But there's always that table captain. Their job is to facilitate the conversation, to facilitate the right scoring, and most importantly, and the thing that we really pressed home with, and what I think sets the Royal Queensland Beer Awards apart from a lot of other competitions in Australia, is Chris Sheehan and I, we strive really hard to make sure that the judges get meaningful feedback, because it's really common that judges will just write a few words, and they don't write words that are meaningful to the brewer to be able to A, identify what's happened with their beer, and B, to be able to improve
How to improve it. Yep.
And I think, and to fail in that regard from a judge's perspective is shit. It's a shitty thing to do. A lot of the judges are brewers, and one of the things that I pressed home to you and all the other judges is, whenever you write words around this, write what you would want to read if it was your beer.
Yeah.
Right? And that's really, really important. And I think that the feedback that we're giving in the Royal Queensland Beer Awards is some of the best in Australia. It's something that we continue to strive to improve. I think this year's been a major improvement, and we'll continue to put resources into not only bringing new judges into the talent pool, but lifting the skills of the existing judges. There's this progression that you go from steward to associate judge to table captain to chairman
of the judges.
And, for me, being the chairman of judges at the Royal Queensland Beer Awards is a massive step up for me and my skills development. There are a lot of challenges there. I had to make a lot of quick decisions to keep the competition running smoothly, ensure the integrity, make sure beers were assessed fairly, and all that sort of thing. It was a lot of fun. It was a hard 2 days, but it was really, really challenging and a lot of fun. I get to judge in international competitions. I'm off to Seoul, Korea next month to go and judge in the Korean International Beer Awards. I will most likely be in Japan in October to judge at the International Beer Cup in Hokkaido. My next progression is to become a judge at the World Beer Cup.
Yeah, cool.
And
yeah,
that's kind of like the pinnacle. Like there's a couple of competitions that I aspire to judge in. So World Beer Cup is one, the European Beer Star is another, and you know, I've been judging for 10 years now, and I'm still working hard to get to that level. You know,
the thing is too that it's also you can't just keep going back and doing judging once a year. You've got to always evaluate yourself and keep practicing and learning.
Well, that whole thing around detecting something, coming up the word, and then having it come out of your mouth, that takes practice. Yeah. And you can't stop. Yep. You know, and the real challenge is, and I'm sure this is happening to you now, is that when you're doing your mindless drinking, that the mindful drinking side of your brain creeps in, and like you're trying to smash a pint.
Yeah,
with your mates,
you're trying,
and then you go going, fuck, there's a bit of dice time that.
Yeah.
I think I need to send this beer back.
Yeah.
And Joel's going, yeah, I've seen Hendo do that.
Yeah, so. I've quietly done a pot plant pour, and we're like, oh.
Did you? Pot plant pour?
Yeah, every now and again.
So in the Australian International Beer Awards, over 10 years ago when I first entered, because they keep the database rolling from year to year to year, you got to put your name in and that sort of thing. And one of the things is like, you know, you've got your prefix, so it's Mr., Mrs., yep. Miss, Doctor, you know, all that sort of thing. And I'm a Mr. And it was like, you know, Steve Hendo Henderson. But there was a postfix, and one of the things was Esquire. And I went, shit, that sounds cool. So I put Esquire in my name, and all of the mail's official letters. You know, I won the bloody Gary Shepherd Trophy in 2017 or 2018 or something like that, and that had Steve Hendo Henderson Esquire on it. It's still there. I'm not getting rid of it. I don't even know what Esquire means.
You probably own land titles in like
Ted's Excellent Adventure. Yeah. It's like, it's just so dumb.
That's great. Yeah. I love it. All right, man. Well, we're out of beer. Thanks so much for chatting to us all about the judging stuff, how it works. It's I love judging, as you know, and so do you.
Mate, you've done a great job judging, and I'm really grateful for your participation, and anything I can do to help you progress that, let me know. And
be my reference for the IBAs.
Yeah, thanks for
the Indies. Yeah.
And good on you, mate. Love it.
Legend. Thanks, man. Mate.